Shadows of Chernobyl. Rise of the Mutants. Picture this. A drone camera glides over the eerily silent, abandoned city of Pripyat. Buildings once teeming with life are now crumbling, overtaken by nature. Trees sprout through cracked pavements, and vines cling to rusted playgrounds. The Ferris wheel, once a symbol of joy, stands motionless against the gray sky. A haunting melody plays, echoing through the deserted streets as if time itself has paused. In the heart of Ukraine lies a silent testament to a catastrophe that changed the world forever. I whisper, setting the stage for our deep dive into one of history's most enigmatic disasters. Let's rewind to the early hours of April 26, 1986. At precisely 11:45 p.m., reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant experienced a catastrophic failure during a late-night safety test. The core exploded, releasing an estimated 5% of the radioactive reactor material into the atmosphere. That's about 520 pbq, petabecquerels, of radiation, roughly 400 times more than the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. The aftermath was unprecedented. The Soviet government established the exclusion zone, a 2,600 square kilometer area surrounding the reactor, evacuated over 335,000 people, and deployed around 600,000 liquidators to contain the disaster. The environmental impact was profound, with radiation levels off the charts and ecosystems thrown into chaos. Beyond the official narratives and declassified reports, there's a web of whispered legends. Locals living on the fringes of the exclusion zone talk about strange phenomena, stories that never made it to mainstream media. It's said that deep within the zone, creatures roam that defy all known biological classifications. I once spoke with an old man in a nearby village who swore he'd seen shadows moving independently of any object, and heard voices carried by the wind when no one was around. There's talk of the Watcher, a mysterious figure said to observe intruders with glowing eyes from the darkness. Over the years, numerous trespassers, thrill-seekers, and even researchers have ventured into the forbidden zone, drawn by curiosity or the allure of the unknown. Some of them never returned. Officially, these disappearances are attributed to hazards like unstable structures, radiation hotspots, or encounters with wildlife. Did you know the area now hosts a thriving population of over 200 species, including wolves and lynx? But patterns emerge when you dig deeper. Allow me to introduce Alexei Ivanov, a seasoned journalist with a background in nuclear physics. He's not your average reporter. Alexei's obsession with Chernobyl isn't just professional. It's intensely personal. 2 years prior, his younger brother Nikolai, also a scientist, disappeared after entering the exclusion zone without permission. Alexei is determined to uncover the truth about his brother's fate in the legends surrounding the zone. He's driven by a mix of guilt, curiosity, and a relentless pursuit of the truth. He spends months preparing, gathering specialized equipment, including a military-grade Geiger-Müller counter capable of detecting alpha, beta, and gamma radiation. Alexei secures contraband maps detailing subterranean facilities rumored to exist beneath the reactor complex. In a clandestine meeting, Dr. Sergei Petrov, a former scientist who worked at Chernobyl, reveals cryptic hints about experiments and secrets buried deep within the plant's remains. Under the cover of darkness, Alexei makes his move. Using outdated sewer tunnels and timing patrol rotations down to the second, he infiltrates the heavily guarded perimeter. The moment he crosses into the zone, his dosimeter ticks, a constant reminder of the invisible hazards around him. The dense red forest looms ahead, named for the ginger-brown color the trees turned after absorbing massive doses of radiation. Soon, Alexei notices the unnatural silence. No birds singing, no insects buzzing. It's as if the forest holds its breath. His Geiger counter spikes intermittently without apparent cause. Then he stumbles upon something chilling, the carcass of a deer, but it's unlike any he's seen before. The animal displays polycephaly, 2 fully formed heads. While radiation-induced mutations in wildlife are documented, such severe deformities rarely result in viable organisms, let alone fully grown adults. He collects samples, noting that the tissue regeneration appears accelerated and anomalous at a cellular level. By dawn, Alexei reaches Pripyat, the once thriving city built to house Chernobyl's workers. With a pre-disaster population of nearly 49,000, it's now a snapshot of Soviet life in the mid-80s, preserved but decaying. He wanders through school number 3, where textbooks still lie open on desks, and gas masks meant for safety drills are scattered across the floor. Graffiti covers walls in several buildings, some old slogans like peace, labor, May, but others are recent, featuring symbols resembling biohazard signs intertwined with unfamiliar characters. Alexei makes his way to hospital number 126, where the first firefighters and plant workers were brought after the explosion. In the basement, he finds the discarded protective clothing of those initial responders, still highly radioactive. Digging through archives, he uncovers medical files and X-rays indicating patients with rapid cellular degeneration alongside unexpected regenerative anomalies. Some records suggest experimental treatments involving radionuclide therapy, decades ahead of mainstream medicine. As night falls, the abandoned city's atmosphere shifts. Shadows seem to stretch unnaturally, and sounds echo in disconcerting ways. While scanning a building with his thermal imaging camera, Alexei notices heat signatures that don't match any known animal patterns. The shapes are humanoid but distorted, elongated limbs, irregular movement patterns. Suddenly, a figure appears at the edge of his vision. It's humanoid but with bioluminescent patterns across its skin, reminiscent of certain deep-sea creatures. Its eyes reflect light like a cat's, and it moves with silent agility. Adrenaline surges. Alexei knows he's outmatched. He bolts, navigating the labyrinth of Pripyat streets, using alleyways and structures to break line of sight. But the creature, or perhaps more than one, is in pursuit. They move through the environment effortlessly, undeterred by obstacles. Alexei utilizes his knowledge of the city's layout, cutting through tight corridors and sealing doors behind him. He activates a portable EMP device, hoping to disrupt any electromagnetic senses the creatures might possess. Seeking refuge, Alexei descends into an old service tunnel that his contraband maps indicated. He discovers a heavy door secured with biometric locks long since powered down. Inside, he's astounded to find a subterranean laboratory preserved from the fallout. The facility is shielded, with radiation levels significantly lower than the surface, a feat of engineering involving lead-lined walls and active decontamination systems. Accessing operational terminals, Alexei delves into restricted data. Video logs show experiments carried out post-disaster by a shadow organization called Project Prometheus. The research focused on harnessing the mutagenic properties of ionizing radiation. They weren't just observing mutations in flora and fauna, they were accelerating them, using recombinant DNA technology. There are references to a program aimed at creating beings adapted to high radiation environments, potentially for space exploration or military applications. He watches in horror as ethical lines are crossed. Human test subjects exposed to extreme radiation levels, genetic modifications implemented without consent. Just then, Alexei is startled by a voice. Lara Antonova steps from the shadows, a molecular biologist who was part of the original research team. Presumed dead, she's been living in the facility, continuing her work in secret. Lara reveals she became disillusioned with the project's direction. She saw potential not for weapons, but for advancing human resilience. She explains that the creatures, whom she calls Homo radiensis, are not monsters but a new branch of human evolution, capable of surviving in environments that would be lethal to unmodified humans. Alexei faces an ethical quandary. Exposing this information could lead to eradication of these beings. Yet, the world has a right to know about the experiments and the human rights violations. Lara urges him to consider the implications. Together, they hypothesize ways to bridge communication with the mutants, using a combination of pheromonal signals and neuro-linguistic programming. Equipped with advanced protective gear and Lara's guidance, they venture deeper toward the reactor's sarcophagus, the concrete and steel structure encasing Reactor 4. Radiation levels here reach upwards of several sieverts per hour, lethal without proper shielding. Their suits utilize cutting-edge materials incorporating radiation-absorbing polymers and nanotechnology to repair damage at the molecular level. They enter a vast chamber, a former cooling system cavern repurposed by the mutants. Bioluminescent fungi illuminate the space. The colony exhibits a complex social structure, divisions of labor, rudimentary art, and tool use. Alexei observes a mutant repairing equipment using a combination of scrap metals and components scavenged from the facility. The Watcher approaches, a figure more human in appearance but with clear adaptations, enhanced musculature, protective epidermal layers, and eyes adapted to low light conditions. "You're trespassing," he says in halting, but clear Russian. His voice carries a weight of hardship and intelligence. A tense conversation unfolds. The Watcher explains that they are the unintended progeny of human ambition and hubris. They wish only to exist without interference, fearing that exposure would lead to their destruction. Alexei realizes that these beings challenge the very definition of humanity. He grapples with the responsibility of his discovery. Could humanity accept them, or would fear lead to conflict? Unbeknownst to them, Alexei's earlier digital intrusion triggered alerts. A covert military unit tasked with containing any breaches is dispatched. Their directive is clear: eliminate all unauthorized entities and sanitize the area. Alarms blare throughout the facility. Automated systems begin initiating a lockdown and self-destruct sequence designed to prevent any potential spread of contamination. Panic ensues. Alexei, Lara, and several mutants scramble to find an exit. They navigate through maintenance shafts and service tunnels as sections of the facility begin to collapse. Lara accesses control terminals, attempting to override the self-destruct. She manages to delay it but realizes someone must manually keep the system in check. In a poignant moment, Lara decides to stay behind. She hands Alexei a data drive containing all her research, a comprehensive account of the mutants and their development. Tell the world what needs to be known, she urges, but protect them. They deserve a chance. As Alexei and the mutants escape, Lara seals herself in the control room, buying them precious time. The facility's destruction is imminent. Emerging from an old drainage pipe outside the military perimeter, Alexei parts ways with the mutants, who disappear into the forest depths. He returns to Kyiv, burdened by the weight of his experiences. The data drive is a Pandora's box, containing truths that could disrupt societal norms, scientific understanding, and geopolitical stability. Alexei contemplates his next move. Publishing a factual account could lead to the mutants' annihilation and spark international turmoil over the clandestine experiments. He opts to write a novel, a fictionalized version of events that incorporates the truths while disguising identities and specifics. Through allegory, he aims to provoke thought and discussion without endangering the beings he now feels compelled to protect. Perhaps some truths are better unveiled through stories, he muses, so that humanity can ponder without the impulse to destroy. Our final scenes return to the exclusion zone. Nature continues its relentless reclamation. Trees grow through the remnants of Soviet-era structures, and wildlife thrives in the absence of humans. A fleeting glimpse shows the mutants integrating with the environment, coexisting with animals, tending to the land in symbiosis. Their existence hints at a new chapter in the Earth's evolutionary story. In the silent void where man's greatest mistakes linger, life finds a way to endure, evolve, and challenge our understanding of what it means to be alive. Perhaps in the shadows of our past, we can find the light to guide our future.